Hello, it's Dr. Pat, and we have Fennec foxes today. We're going to go over the good, the bad, and the amazing facts about Fennecs. We have Saffron and Todd with us here today, two 2-year-old Fennec foxes. This is our little girl. This is our little boy. You can see her face is much more petite than our males. And these are altered foxes. They're part of Red Mountain Conservation and Education Center, a USDA licensed and inspected facility, also licensed Arizona Game and Fish facility. What we're going to discuss today is a list of qualities that make these guys unique, how some of those influence pet quality, and just the Fennec fox in general. So the good. The good is very obvious at a glance. We're adorable in every way. These are tiny little guys. They're the smallest members of the canine family. A lot of people think of foxes as part of the feline family because they have very feline behaviors, but they're not. They're part of the canine family. And then Vulpes, Zerta, genus and species. So they are foxes. But they are the smallest members of the wild canines. And on average, they tend to be 2 to 4 pounds in size. Obesity is common, so we do see bigger ones, but with a good diet, they should be right around that size. And that makes them much more manageable than a large carnivore. But small size does not mean small environment. These are very active animals. They require a lot of room to bounce and play and chase. Enrichment in their lives is very important. The other thing that I would consider one of the goods is they are actually highly intelligent animals, and they are very trainable. You can target train them, positive reinforcement training. You can see we're a little shy and a little scared right now because we met a whole room full of new people today, but we're still very well behaved. We work well on our leash and harness. But again, the intelligence is also an issue. So if they're not given a goal or a task or something to learn or do, they'll find their own fun. And so we want to be aware that enrichment is a necessity in their lives, not an option. Some of the other good things that I would consider about them is they're long-lived. So in captivity, 10 to 15 years is not uncommon with good environment and good diet. And so they can be around a long time. But again, the flip coin of that is they're around a long time. This is a long-term commitment and relationship, not a quick decision. So those are a few of the things that I would consider some of the big assets in these wonderful little animals, and it's what often draws people in. And the other thing that tends to draw them in is their very cute vocalizations. So they have chirps and squeals and chips and howls and barks and growls and a variety of vocalizations, which are adorable, and a lot of people are attracted to them when they hear them. And then, of course, you can't miss the big ears. It makes them look more cat-like. Again, they're not cats, but part of the cute factor overall. So those are some of the goods. So now we're going to talk about the bads. Stick around because we will go through the amazing. But what we need to consider with these guys is they are still wild animals. They are not domesticated animals. And so if you're thinking about getting one of these guys, first of all, they're illegal in many states and cities. You have to research and do your research before getting them. The breeders will require you to have done that and won't ship to illegal areas. But because they are not yet domesticated, they startle more easily. You can see we're a little bit shy right now because we met new people, as I said. And so you have to be aware that they're not the same as a dog or cat that's had many, many generations of domestication. The other thing is these guys are crazy diggers. They can dig with all 4 feet, and they can be very destructive diggers. A lot of people will try to train them to a litter box, and that's just a dig box to them. So a lot of times people use pea pads because they'll dig right through it. One of the enrichment tools for them is a sandbox to dig in, and that sand will go everywhere and make a terrible mess, and so that can be a real problem. And then the cute vocalizations, well, they can be a problem too. So those vocalizations can be very loud. They can often be at night. They can disturb neighbors and family members, and that can be a problem where many of these guys aren't kept long-term because of that, because people didn't realize it. So those are just a few of the negatives. Anything you'd add to that?
They recognize the people that they recognize.
And no one else.
And no one else. And it's a pretty small pool of who they recognize.
That's an important one.
So in a family of 3, there's 2 of us. They're very comfortable being around. Walk into the room, they don't move, they don't run away. But if that third person comes in for no reason, that hasn't done anything to cause any kind of reaction, they'll get a reaction. They just bolt, they take off, they run.
To continue on with some of the bad list, these guys are predators, they're hunters, and they're very efficient hunters, and they enjoy the hunt. And so if we put them in a house environment and we have birds or hamsters and small animals, they will incessantly hunt them until they get a hold of them. You need to consider that before you even consider bringing one into your house, because we don't want a tragedy. And one of the things that his caretaker said is, I think very pertinent, is they speak a different language than the other animals in your house. So even though they may interact, they're not talking the same language. They have different body signals that indicate stress or joy or play. And so that can lead to a lot of confrontations and a lot of problems. And we don't want to take a chance with either the Fennec or the other animals in your house. And then litter box training. We got to discuss training. Remember, I said they're highly intelligent, and they are. But they're also notorious for being not so great at using their litter box. You can train them to the box, but it would be very rare that they would use it exclusively. They do fecal and urine mark their environment, and so they're going to be a little irresponsible about using the box and then deliberately marking their territory as well. And if that's something you can't handle, you shouldn't be considering one, because it is part of who they are. The other thing is they are diggers. That is how they actually hunt in the wild, is digging through sand. They actually form very deep dens with extensive tunnels through digging. And so digging is a natural instinct for them. And they will dig with all 4 feet, not just the front feet. And they will do this in your house. So they will dig in your sofa, they'll dig in your chair, they'll dig in your carpet. And it doesn't stop. It's not something you could prevent. Again, it's a natural behavior. And so one of the things we've discussed is you don't have carpet in your house, because they will dig in the carpet incessantly, or rugs. Yes. And so again, environment and what you can provide and are willing to provide should be considered. All right, I think we got a few good and bad. So let's get on to the amazing facts, because there are lots of amazing facts about these guys. One is we're going to discuss these big, beautiful ears. They can be up to 20% of the surface area of the body. They're the biggest ears in the canine family in the wild canines. They are carnivores, and they are opportunistic carnivores. So in the wild, they'll hunt prey, but they also will eat roots or fruit if they can get a hold of it. They'll eat scorpions in the wild. They'll hunt insects. And that leads to many problems in a home environment where they'll eat anything and everything they can get a hold of. They have furred feet, and a lot of people talk about them as snowshoes on their feet. And we're going to show you these little footies right now. And those feet are adapted to the desert environment, so we don't burn our footies on the sand. Sorry, baby. Here, come here. Let's go this way. Good job. So these furred feet protect their pads so the pads don't burn on the hot sand. Yes, pads do burn. It's something we see pretty routinely. And they actually help them navigate through deep sand much more efficiently as well. They have a very dense, beautiful coat. And you might ask why a desert animal would have that, but desert nights get really cold. And so this actually helps with the colder nights. During the day, these guys are nocturnal. So that during the day, they dig very extensive tunnels and burrows. There can be 15 plus entrances in these family burrows, and they use their natural digging behavior to excavate extensively. And they'll stay underground during the hot days. So it's not that they tolerate the heat, it's that they've adapted their environment to be able to live in it. And so they stay underground and hunt at night. They do live in families, as we discussed, but they're solitary hunters, probably because there's not a lot of prey items and they're small prey. So they're hunting more like a cat, where they're going out on their own and hunting and then going back to the family group. And one of their biggest and most unique adaptations is their kidneys. They can highly concentrate their urine, much more so than any of the other dog families that we think of, or dogs that we think of. And so they can retain urine or fluid and not lose it in their urine. And this allows them in the wild to be able to not have a source of water and just use the prey that they ingest as their source of water. It is important to point out a captive animal should have water at all times, but it does make them very unique that they can survive mostly without water in the wild, just based on the prey that they eat. Obviously, it has to be moisture-rich prey. These are educational ambassadors from Red Mountain Conservation and Education Center. And I want to talk just really briefly about conservation and education animals. So these are non-domesticated animals that are true ambassadors for their species. So a lot of people will see posts with exotic animals and immediately comment that they should never be in captivity. And what I'd like you to at least consider is that all our dogs are cats, and yes, even horses were once wild animals. And aside from that, for people years ago, before media, when they heard about whales, they thought of them as a big fish that was a resource to exploit. And with the advent of biologists and films and bringing them into our homes and our lives, people began to understand that these are wonderful, unique animals that deserve protection of not only themselves, their species, but their environment. And that's what these animal ambassadors do. Just like other animals, some of the mothers are not great mothers, particularly at the beginning. And so these guys were very fortunate when they started to get injuries that they were rescued and are now here today as young, healthy adults in a good home with a great life.